I went to Georgia and Armenia in 2018. It was our very first wheel and anchor trip, and I have to admit, I didn't know much about either country before I went. Two former Soviet republics, somewhere south of Russia, complicated names, complicated history. That was about the limit of it. But what I found instead were two of the oldest Christian nations on Earth. People have been making wine the same way for 8,000 years before anyone in Rome had even thought to try it. Monasteries built into mountainsides because that's where the faith was hardest to wipe out. And a kind of hospitality I genuinely wasn't prepared for. Wheel and Anchor members have been back a few times since, and the feedback is always the same. How come almost no one in the West has any idea what is there?
We'll begin in Georgia, in the wine country of Kakheti, vineyards rolling out from the Alazani Valley with the greater Caucasus rising behind them. From there, we move west to Tbilisi, the capital, for 4 nights, and then north, up into the Caucasus proper at Kazbegi, Mount Kazbek, the Russian border, and some of the most dramatic landscape in Europe. From Kazbegi, we swing west and south to Borjomi, the old spa town in its forested valley. And then we cross into Armenia at Ninosminda. Our first stop is Gyumri, Armenia's second city, a place rebuilt out of catastrophe. And we finish up in Yerevan, in the shadow of Mount Ararat. 17 days, 2 countries, 1 long arc through the Caucasus. We'll start in Tsinandali, in the heart of Kakheti. Georgians have been making wine here for 8,000 years. And that's not marketing language. UNESCO recognizes it as the oldest continuous winemaking tradition on Earth. They don't use barrels, they use kvevri, enormous clay vessels buried up to the neck in the ground, and they've been doing it that way since before the pyramids. We'll visit a fabulous vineyard just outside Signagi, the hilltop town that calls itself the City of Love, and walk its 4-kilometer fortress wall. We'll sit down at Twin Cellar in Naparuli to taste wine pulled from clay and bake bread in a tone oven the way it's been done for centuries. And then there's the food itself. And here's the one thing about Georgian cooking. It's organic by default. Not because anyone branded it that way, because nobody ever industrialized it. The tomato came from somebody's garden, and the cheese came from somebody's goat. The herbs were picked that morning. We'll have a dinner with the family in Tbilisi, where the tamada, the toastmaster, leads the table through a series of toasts that can stretch for hours, while singers fill the room with Georgian polyphony. It's not a performance, it's how they eat. And by the end of the night, you understand why every traveler I've sent here comes home talking about the hospitality before anything else. From Tbilisi, we head north into the Great Caucasus, and the drive itself is part of why we go. We'll stop at Jvari Monastery, a 6th century church on a hilltop where 2 rivers meet, and at the Ananuri Fortress on its reservoir. And we'll cross through the Cross Pass, the high point of the Georgian military highway, which was the road the Russians cut through the mountains 2 centuries ago. And then we arrive at Kazbegi. Towering above the town is Mount Kazbek, 5,054 meters of snow and rock. And clinging to a ridge halfway up, 2,000 meters above sea level, is Gergeti Trinity Church, a small 14th century stone chapel alone on a hilltop with that mountain in behind it. There's a reason this image ends up on the cover of every book about Georgia, and we'll see it in person and understand why. To get there, we go by 4-wheel drive, because the Rose isn't a road in the way we mean it back home, and from there, we'll push further into the Trousseau Valley, a high green corridor dotted with ancient watchtowers and abandoned villages. It's where the Turgi River begins. These monasteries weren't built in easy places. They were built where faith had to work the hardest to survive. Standing at Gergeti, you understand something about endurance that doesn't really translate into words. From Kazbegi, we head west to Borjomi, the old spa town in its forested valley, famous for a mineral water Georgians grew up on and either love or can't stand. We'll walk in the national park and taste the water straight from the spring while having a quiet day or 2 before the longer push south. Along the way, we'll pass through Gori, where Stalin was born. We won't dwell on it, but it's worth acknowledging. The man who ran the Soviet Union for 30 years came from a small Georgian town, and Georgians have been figuring out how to talk about that ever since. There's the real reason, though, that we head this way is Vardzia. It's a 12th century cave city carved into the side of a cliff above the Makvari River, near the Turkish border. At its peak, it housed 50,000 people, monks, soldiers, farmers, in chambers cut directly into the rock 13 stories deep. It was commissioned by Queen Tamar, who in Georgian history is referred to not as queen, but as king, because that's the title she actually held. Most of it collapsed in an earthquake in the 13th century, but what remains is still extraordinary. From Vardzia, we cross at Ninotsminda into Armenia, and the trip changes character. Different alphabet, different church, and different mountain on the horizon. It's a different story altogether. Our first stop in Armenia is Gyumri, the country's second city. In 1988, an earthquake leveled most of it and killed 25,000 people. Gyumri has spent the years since rebuilding itself, not into something new, but back into what it was. 19th century black tough stone buildings, old streets, a stubborn kind of restoration. Armenians use the word resilience a lot. In Gyumri, you see what they mean. And then we drive south to Yerevan, and here you get a piece of context. Armenia was the first country in the world to adopt Christianity as a state religion. Not one of the first, the first. In the year 301, while Rome was still throwing Christians to the lions, Armenians were building cathedrals, and we'll visit Echmiadzin, the mother church, founded then and still standing now, and Zvartnots, a 7th century cathedral whose ruins still suggest the scale of what it must have been. In Yerevan, we'll also go to Tsitsernakaberd, the Armenian Genocide Memorial. Between 1915 and 1923, the Ottoman Empire murdered roughly 1.5 million Armenians. It was the first industrial-scale genocide of the 20th century. The Holocaust came later and understandably took most of the world's attention, but what happened to the Armenians was just as deliberate and just as brutal, and far fewer people knew about it. Visiting Tsitsernakaberd isn't comfortable. It's not meant to be. It's part of understanding who Armenians are and why they carry themselves the way that they do. And then there's the mountain, Mount Ararat, the symbol on the Armenian flag, and the mountain Armenians have looked at every day for 3,000 years. It sits across the closed Turkish border. You can see it from almost anywhere in Yerevan, but you can't go to it. That distance, that visible but unreachable quality is the Armenian conditioned, rendered in geography. Once you understand it, you understand the country. We'll spend our last days here, visiting Garni, the only pagan temple still standing in the Caucasus, watching lavash, flatbread recognized by UNESCO being made in a clay oven in the ground, tasting Ararat brandy at the factory Churchill is said to have favored, and on our final evening, a farewell dinner with the mountain still on the horizon.
So that's the trip. 2 countries that have outlasted nearly everyone who tried to absorb them, and they're only now stepping forward as themselves. We'll travel as a small group, as we always do. Canadians who tend to be curious about places like these, who don't need everything explained and sanitized, and who are happy to take their time. We'll move at a pace that lets the days settle, not to mention the meals, because they will be sumptuous. I hope you'll consider joining us to a part of the world that hasn't crossed most people's minds.